So I'm working on the associate Python developer career track on DataCamp. After finishing introduction to Python for developers and intermediate Python, right, I was given this project to try my hands on. So, okay, this is the project description, and believe me, it was pretty interesting. By looking at it from a beginner level, it's very, very simple. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah. So these the validate name, validate email, and validate password are like helper functions, and they've been already given to me. So the first thing was to inspect their dot strings. All right. So use this one to inspect the dot strings. That the dot. Yeah, that's it. So I inspected the other strings, knew what they were about, the arguments, the returns, the args, the returns, and all of those. Okay, so I now went for it to define my function. So I defined my function, which was validate user with the parameters name, email, and password. Right. So using the if not statement, because I realized that the validate name function can return to boolean, so I could check if it was false. Okay, so if it was false, mean that the name entered over there did not meet the criteria. So I was going to raise a value for the same thing for these ones. Okay, and I was done. Alright. Same thing for the register user. Okay, I used the method of handling errors. Okay, so I learned that in the intermediate section of the course. So that was try, then run this one. Okay, so try will run this one, and if there is an error, it will raise this error and then return false. Okay, so but if everything runs, then it will return with this one. Okay, but I realized that when I use this method, okay, if this one should fail and it raises this one, after raise, the next ones do not actually run. Okay, so this one may be helpful to maybe check or catch errors immediately they happen without going on to the next ones. Alright, so this will work if, let's say, it's a step-by-step something, but if they are all together, alright, by step-by-step something, I mean that, let's say, if you are to enter an email, you press next, you enter email, you press next, you enter password, and then it catches them one after the other without like catching of them together, then that's fine. Alright, but our usual sign-up forms are not like that. They are all together. So you see name, somewhere you see name, you see email, you see password over there. So it would be just right to catch all of the errors together and return all of them to the user at once. So I went for to create another or define another function. Okay, the same thing, the same name. Otherwise my project would have rejected, the checker would have rejected my answer. So I defined validate user with the same parameters, email, password. Then I created a list called error messages so that I'll be able to what? Append all of the error messages to this empty list over here. Alright, so that's what I did. If not, validate name. So if this one fails or if this one returns a false, it will append this one. Name must be blah 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 over here. This one over here, this one over here. Alright, then I'm going to sum all of them together, join them. So if error messages, that's if this list is not empty, it has a value now, then it's going to join these ones with these things separating them. Okay, because I wanted there to be a clean line after each and every one of them. I didn't want them to go round, like right in the same line, just like that. So then I'll raise a value error if this one passes, or if this one checks, then I'll raise a value error with all the error messages. Alright, so initially I was thinking about using print, but I realized something with print. Okay, I was thinking about just instead of error messages that happen, I'll just use print. I realized something about print. Print was going to bore me because I had to return true if all of these checks passed or if there were no errors. But when I used print, I realized that it was going to return true no matter what happened. Okay, so then I had to use the list method and append. And you remember I mentioned that when I use raise, it breaks the function. Like it does not run to the next statement in the function. Alright, so Raise prevents this one, the return from running. Okay, if there is some error. But if there is no error and everything checks, then it will return true. Okay, so this is an example of what I was talking about. So this one I can now have name as my text. But let's say if I remember correct the name. Alright. So now you see that it has just returned enter a valid email address. For example, password should be this. If I should enter make the password of the correct format, enter a valid email address. Okay, so that was the reasoning behind the second method also. Right, and now I have a true. Okay, however, for this validate user, if I should, that's the first one I actually worked on. If I should do wrong once, it's only going to return one. Okay, so you understand. So I'll have to maybe correct this one before it will now tell me the enter valid email address. So that's why I prefer this one. So what do you think? Which of the two methods do you prefer most? Is there another way I could have gone about it? What do you think about it? Let me know.